sixth graders. Okay, so your homework was to read chapters 22 and 23. And so here's an audio recording. I know I'm not as great as the narrator on Audible, but I'll do the best I can. So, all right, here we go. Chapter 22, Fathers and Sons. Styx stayed quiet the rest of the way to the hardware store. The salesman fussed over us the second we walked in. "You're back. Good timing. Mr. Davis is here." He pointed us toward aisle 6. Standing there was a lean and leathery man holding a clipboard in his work-worn hands. He sported a light beard and a mesh cap with the hardware store name on the front. He was not large, but he was built like a man who lifted and carried things for a living. Styx's sour mood disappeared. He turned on all the charm. "Mr. Davis? Good afternoon. You got a minute to talk to us about those sweet wheels you got on display up front?" "These are the boys I was telling you about." The salesman's voice followed us. We shook hands with Mr. Davis. The owner was happy to chat us up about the grasshopper. "It belonged to your son?" Styx said, patting the moped seat. "Yup," Mr. Davis said. "Bought it for him for high school graduation." "Wow, I wondered what it would be like to have such a cool dad. He must have loved it." Mr. Davis made a soft, sad sound. "Oh, wasn't ever good enough for him. He wanted a Harley." The man shook his head. "Well, he's got one now." Styx nodded. "Lucky for us, I suppose. We'd sure like to take this one off your hands. I can assure you we'll enjoy it and appreciate it." "Not like my ungrateful son, you mean?" Mr. Davis barked a laugh. "Never been sure what to do with that boy." Styx commiserated. "Fathers and sons, right? What are you gonna do?" I swear he looked at me for a second when he said it. To Mr. Davis he said, "I got a good joke for you." "Bring it." "Why is the first story in the Bible about Adam and Eve and the second story about Cain and Abel?" "Why?" "'Cause Adam and his sons still won't talk about their problems." Mr. Davis hooted. Styx stuck out his palm and they slapped. We all grinned at each other. "You want the bike? Make me an offer," Mr. Davis said. "This is a blessing in disguise," Styx said. "We're low on cash, but we can offer you a trade." "Trade for what?" Mr. Davis's expression faded from friendly to skeptical. "The perfect thing," Styx assured him. "The thing you want most." The old guy snorted. "And what's that?" Styx's smile dazzled us. It was almost like a starburst flashed from the corner of his teeth, like the cartoon dad on the candy cigarette box. "You can't give me what I want most," Mr. Davis said, staring at the grasshopper. "And you're too young to see that." Styx stayed confident. "Hold the moped for us. We'll come back within the week. Make you an offer you can't refuse." "How do you know a lawnmower is what Mr. Davis wants most?" Bobby Jean asked the second we hit the sidewalk, carrying the tube of rust remover. "The lawnmower's not going to work," Styx said. His cloak of charm slipped off and he fell quiet again. "What?" I said, when he didn't continue. "But that's all we have." "We need another trade," Styx said. "The lawnmower for something." "What does Mr. Davis want most?" I asked. Styx glanced sideways at me. It was a few moments before he answered. "We'll work something out." We were feeling upset, so we splurged on a trip to the diner. We ordered a whole mess of chicken strips and 3 large milkshakes. Vanilla for me, strawberry for BG, and coffee with caramel for Styx. I regretted my order as soon as I heard Styx's. I couldn't have asked for anything plainer. The waitress saw Styx slip his candy cigarette from his pocket. "No smoking," she said. Styx snorted. "It's fake." He twirled the candy cigarette over his placemat. "It's policy," she said, like she didn't get it. "Sure thing, Janine." Styx studied the name badge on her chest for a while. "Pretty clearly fake, but it passes." The waitress crossed her arms over her stomach. Her voice got tight. "Anything else I can get you?" Styx teased the candy cigarette between his lips. "We're good," he said. She spun away in a huff. She was being weird, and so was Styx. I didn't see what the big deal was. The candy cigarette was like an extension of Styx's fingers. I barely noticed anymore. Janine returned a few minutes later with our order. She slammed the plates down on the table in front of us and marched off. "Hey," Styx called after her. She looked over her shoulder. "Sorry," he said. "Sorry. Honestly, sorry." He held up the candy cigarette and made a show of dropping it back in his pocket. She nodded and left. We dug in. Chicken strips, fries, and a milkshake is about the best meal in the world. "Not bad," Styx commented as he sipped the shake. "About as good as you find in Indy." He shook his head. "Best fries in the city were around the corner from my house." "You lived in Indy?" Bobby Jean said. "Not just visited?" "Yeah," Styx shrugged. "We lived a lot of places." "You and Pixie?" Styx said nothing. "How come you moved so much? Where'd you live before Sutton? How come you're in a foster home anyway?" Bobby Jean poured questions into the silence like a hose stuck on full blast. Styx shook his head. "You don't want to know about that stuff," he said finally. "But—" I nudged Bobby Jean to shut up. Foster home? Maybe so, but his prying was going to get us in trouble in a minute. Styx had a tea kettle expression on his face, like steam was filling up his head. He sucked hard on his straw, gnawed a trio of fries. Then he tore a chicken strip in half with a grunt like the Hulk. Bobby Jean nudged me back. He got annoyed with me when I did that, because it usually meant I could see or understand something he couldn't. Styx wasn't being his usual cheerful self. It gave me a tight feeling in my stomach that had nothing to do with being hungry or full. "We like you," I told Styx. "That's why he wants to know. He didn't mean anything by it." "You guys are all right, too," Styx answered. He snagged a fry and swiped it through ketchup. "But if anyone asks," I never said that. I copied his movement exactly. I didn't hear anything. Okay, Chapter 23. Porches and Promises. With Styx's charm set on low, we were no longer fearless adventurers. We became 3 boys too far from home. It was a relief to arrive back in our own woods. We fetched the lunchbox and sat under the tree with it. Styx was still in a bit of a mood. It fell to me to be the impossibly charming one, so I leaned in to practice my Styx craft. "This one time," I told him, "we brought a couple of frogs to church. We had them in our shirt pockets. In the middle of the sermon, one of them got the Holy Ghost and started leaping around and croaking all over the altar." "Just one of them?" Styx said. "Yeah, it was my frog that went nuts," I said. "The Reverend called it the Lord God in action through nature." "Wake!" he yelled out to the whole congregation. Bobby Jean laughed. "The other one stayed quiet in my pocket the whole time. Real prayerful." "No way," Styx said. "Yes way," Bobby Jean confirmed. "You're not the only one with wild stories." "Tell me another." I thought about it. "This one time, we took a jar of lightning bugs into the grocery store." Styx puffed on his candy cigarette and scrubbed at the lunchbox like it was going to save his life. It was gentle and tedious work. His long fingers danced with the rag against the metal. He massaged each hinge lovingly as I regaled him with the best stories I could think of from our entire lives up until now. Finally, Styx raised his head. "Check it out." The lunchbox was clean. It wasn't as perfect as a new one, but it had character, kind of like the beat-up old furniture Mom liked that we weren't supposed to call old. "Is it an antique?" Bobby Jean said, reading my mind. It had a faded blue and red picture on it, a cartoon man flying with his fists forward and a cape streaming behind, the telltale S on his chest. "It's a bird, it's a plane," Bobby Jean said. "It's Superman," we chorused. "Is it valuable?" I ran my finger over the image. The lunchbox looked like it might have been awesome when it was new. "It's worth enough," Styx said. "Some people are into this kind of thing." Styx stayed for dinner, then we hung out on the back porch as the sun went down. Lightning bugs flicked across the yard, teasing each other with their taillights. We lounged in the chaises, shooting the breeze, and then Styx got kind of quiet again. "Listen," he said, "we need to make moves on this motor, right?" "Is now the best time to talk about it?" I pointed up to the open window screens. Dad was watching TV pretty loud, but you never knew how sound might carry. "We can talk tomorrow," Styx agreed. "I just don't think we should put it off anymore." Had we been putting it off? We'd only just gotten the lunchbox ready, but Styx hadn't seemed to be in a big hurry until today. "Pond trip tomorrow?" I suggested. "Sure thing," Styx said. "If it's hot like today, that'll feel good." Bobby Jean and I glanced at each other, awkward. How to tell Styx we weren't allowed to swim? Mom poked her head out the door, sparing us. "Wrap it up, boys." "Aww," we chorused. It wasn't even totally dark yet. The cruel reality of summer was that bedtime often preceded actual dark. "Good night, Styx," Mom said in a tone as clear and final as the end of school day bell. She balanced Susie with one arm and waved the other hand over the dessert dishes surrounding us. We were meant to clean up and follow her, and Styx was meant to go home. But Styx, not having a mom of his own and all, was never one to pick up on these things. He flopped back onto the chaise and wiggled his butt into the cushion, getting comfy. He crossed his arms behind his head. "The night is young, Mrs. Franklin," he said. "And so are you," Mom answered. "It's near bedtime." "We have to go in," I whispered to Styx. That's her pre-punishment voice. He glanced at me with clear disdain for my rule following. If that's how you want to roll," he said. It wasn't how I wanted to roll. Of course it wasn't. But Styx didn't understand the pressure we were under. "Say good night," Mom ordered. "Good night, Styx," we said. Mom herded us inside. There was no use complaining. She put Susie in her high chair, then handed us each a cup of water in the kitchen. We were always required to hydrate after being outside, especially in the summer. She leaned her hips against the counter, crossed her arms, and stared at us. We stood on the tile in our bare feet, slugging down this cool, smooth water. They were big cups. Mom was on to something with the water thing. No matter how squirrely we felt when we burst in the door, by the time we'd chugged it all down, we were looking pretty docile. Over the rims of our cups, we watched her, watching us. Uh-oh. "Okay, guys, we need to have a little talk." Her tightly crossed arms and eagle-eye stare said plenty. We lowered our cups and waited. From the living room came the low, familiar sound of the TV news. I tried to take comfort in that. The impending talk was not serious enough for Dad to be involved. Or else, so serious that it was better for Dad not to know. I gulped. "You've been spending a lot of time hanging out with Styx lately, haven't you?" "Not that much, really," I said, at the same time as Bobby Jean said, "Oh, yeah, he's great." We glanced at each other. "Only sometimes," I rambled on. "In the afternoons, a little bit. We have our chores with Corey in the morning and all. We've been real faithful about that." "Styx is a troubled boy," Mom said. "How come you don't like him?" Bobby Jean said. "I didn't say I don't like him. He's very charming." This is what Mom says about people she doesn't really like. "It sounds like he's had a hard life is all. Sometimes that makes people a little rough around the edges." Styx was rough around the edges, for sure. He did what he felt like. He saw everything and calculated all the angles. What would Styx say right now to Mom? "We're trying to be good neighbors," I said. "You wouldn't want us to turn our backs on someone just because he's had a hard time, would you?" Mom's lips tightened. She didn't want to have to disagree with that. "He doesn't really have a family," I explained. "He's all alone and he's new here. We can help him, be a good influence and stuff." Surely that wasn't even stretching the truth too far. Styx was learning all kinds of stuff from us, just like we were learning all kinds of stuff from him. Mom uncrossed her arms. I need you to know I have some concerns, that's all. Bobby Jean sighed, his feet twitching toward the hallway. Can we go? Okay, Mom said. Caleb, she added as Bobby Jean went tearing off to our room. I lingered so she could say whatever she had to say that my brother wasn't likely to understand. You know what I mean, right, sweetie? About Styx? I shrugged. Yeah, I guess so. Even though, no, I really didn't. If you play with him, I need you to be careful. We're always careful. Mom bent and kissed my face. It's still my job to remind you. Yeah. I wiped away the spot as if she'd slobbered on me, like Susie would. Styx wouldn't have let Mom push us around like that. I was griping so loudly, Bobby Jean started patting the air to quiet me down. When it's Mom, it doesn't count as pushing us around, he said. Still. We had Lego pieces out, strewn around the room. We were pecking through the piles, looking for all the green and black ones. We were going to build a scale model of the moped. Bobby Jean scooped up a handful of pieces and made a Lego waterfall through his fingers. Styx is good for dealing with people like Corey, but he really doesn't get what we're up against around here. How great would it be to have no parents, I fantasized as we got into bed, to do whatever the heck we wanted, anytime. Yeah, Bobby Jean agreed, except then one of us would have to get a job or something. He was harshing my vibe with his practicality. Forget about that part. I'm talking midnight Rice Krispies, candy, ice cream for breakfast. TV all night until the sun comes up? Now he was getting into the spirit. 24-hour video game marathon. Pizza for every meal. No news, only our shows. No vegetables. We kept on making the list until we couldn't keep our eyes open. No parents would be the coolest, Bobby Jean mumbled. He slid into a half snore. Yeah, I drifted away too. One last thought slipped through my mind. Styx's face on the sidewalk earlier. Hey, Styx, you ever ride in a limo? Once. And that's it. Alrighty, well, we'll read a few more chapters in class, and I hope you enjoy that, and we'll talk some more. Have a good day.